Growing plants is an interesting pastime. Typically, plants grow in various types of soil. They take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and produce oxygen by a process called photosynthesis. They also require water and nutrients from the soil in order to grow healthily. The amounts of nutrients present in different types of soil is variable, so the ability of different types of plants to grow varies depending on the chemical composition of the soil. Water dissolves the types of nutrients that eventually find their way into plants, and the biological systems present within plants try to ensure that the best use is made of the nutrients present. A hydroponic system aims to provide water and nutrients in appropriate amounts to plants in a manner that is best suited to their growth.
In my back garden, there are a lot of strawberry plants that I've let grow and not paid much attention to until now. I plan to make a hydroponic system that would allow me to study plant growth and provide an edible incentive to keep it in operation. I read a number of different books on the subject about the types of different systems that are used for hydroponics and set about building my own. I decided I would use a section of PVC pipe to serve as a trough for the plants. I would use some sand as a growing medium, and I would use a soak and drain method of irrigation. The cheapest type of PVC pipe, which seems to be the standard, and has the cheapest accessories available for it, is a 9 cm diameter pipe. I also bought some push-on end caps to enclose the pipe sections. Later in the project, when I brought other sections of PVC pipe and some more push-on end caps, I found that the caps just seemed to fall easily off the end of the pipes, unlike other types of end caps. After a few more trips to the hardware store, I found that the pipe sizes and end caps tend to differ slightly but significantly, and so the end caps that one plans to use should be tested for each pipe that one is planning on buying. To draw straight lines on the PVC pipe, I wrapped a piece of paper tightly around the pipe and used the overlap of the paper to ensure that there was a straight line at the edge of the paper along the edge of the cylinder. Either side of this I would draw pencil marks and then use a ruler to connect them. I determined that the best way to cut the pipe was such that 67 mm of the top width of a 1 meter length of pipe would be removed, leaving enough unremoved either side of the edges to maintain the structural integrity. I tried a few ways to cut holes in the pipes, including using a mini rotary cutting tool and a junior hacksaw, but I found that this was a slow process, and eventually I brought a jigsaw with a wood curve cutting blade that would quickly cut through the PVC. An initial hole still needs to be created with either a cutting tool or a drill bit. After the pipes are cut, there appears to be a slight narrowing of the diameter towards the center of the pipe. I wanted to make a filter to prevent the growing medium from being flushed away when the water trough empties. I brought some microweave, which is the smallest hole-sized fiberglass flyscreen. I then cut a small piece of PVC pipe off of the end of some spare pipe, and then cut a slit in it to create a smaller diameter piece to fit inside a pipe. The flyscreen is stretched over the top of this inner piece. I initially wanted to use some more flyscreen thread to tie the flyscreen around the inner piece, but found that this would take too much time. The next task was to make some water inlets and outlets in the end caps. I bought some plastic hose connectors and used the rotary cutting tool to slice off one pronged end of the connector. I used a drill to make a hole in the end cap. When I placed the connector through the end and subjected it to the pressure of a little bit of water, I noticed a small drip through the hole. This needed to be fixed. I tried to use some silicone sealant around the hole, but this was extremely messy, and it was hard to apply it in the right places. The Then I bought some PVC primer and cement, which should stick PVC to PVC. From my experiments I found that the plastic hose connector did not stick to PVC. The connector is probably made from polyethylene. The green glue sticks quite well to PVC, however. I had to buy some more PVC material to create some water inlets. The best part I could find was a valve takeoff adapter, which had a thread on it. I had to remove this thread with a combination of different abrasive methods, including drill attachments, a file, and sandpaper. I drilled a hole using a spade drill bit into the end pieces and then stuck the adapter into the end cap. An attempt before this had been made to create some rubber grommets to fit between the end cap's inlet hole and the plastic hole connector, but this was unsuccessful. This method of creating a water inlet required some additional purchases, including vinyl tubing and some vinyl adapter connections. I also bought some washed sand as growing medium for the system and some river pebbles for drainage. I filled the bottom of the trough with 1.7 kilograms of the smallest of the pebbles and about 4.75 kilograms of the washed sand. When I tested the system by filling the top of the trough, I found that the sand lost some of its volume when water came in contact with it. The filter that I had created also wasn't effective at filtering out some of the sand as it washed through the system. I decided that there wasn't enough time to research a better filter system. In the books, it recommends different mixtures of chemicals to create the nutrient solutions, and I researched how difficult it would be to buy some of these chemicals. The most difficult chemical to purchase is ammonium nitrate, because it is very dangerous. Some other chemicals like potassium nitrate are also difficult to buy in conventional stores. It is much easier to buy pre-mixed fertilizer solutions. Typically, the chemicals and fertilizers that you can buy have percentages by weight of the various elements that are included. In the books, there are tables of minimum and maximum chemical amounts as parts per million by weight for nutrient solutions. I created a spreadsheet which would compare pre-mixed fertilizer with the stated plant tolerances within the books. I found that one liquid fertilizer that I bought would give a similar chemical composition to the tolerance range suggested by the book. The only differences seemed to be the amount of zinc, which was not present, a lesser amount of magnesium, and a smaller amount of iron. It is possible to add these as individual chemicals. The nutrient solution I propose to make consists of cobb&co Proprietary Limited water-soluble balanced fertilizer, zinc sulfate, magnesium sulfate, and iron EDTA. A very small amount of zinc, magnesium, and iron is required, so they are added to water solutions, and then a percentage of that water solution is taken and diluted with some more water until the required solution is achieved. I placed 1.25 grams of zinc sulfate, 500 grams of magnesium sulfate, and 12.5 grams of iron chelate into 50 litres of water. I then took out 1 litre of water and added it to a 20-litre solution of water in another water container. I took 1 litre of this solution and added 12 grams of the fertilizer and diluted it with enough water to make 80 litres of solution. The nutrient solution needs a pH test to ensure that it is within the required range for strawberries of 5 to 5.5. I have a pH meter which I tested the solution with. It read 7, which is pretty standard for plain water. I do not have any evidence that the chemicals made any difference to the pH of the water, but I decided to use it at 7 anyway. To decrease the pH, an acidic substance needs to be added, and to increase the pH, a basic substance needs to be added. The final system is contained within a tube holder I created from MDF and then painted. The base needs to be packed with bricks to prevent it from falling over when blown by strong winds. It is covered by some plastic made from shower curtains. I do not know if this cover is vulnerable to ultraviolet light. I made some water storage tanks out of the same PVC tube and placed them into a case to be lifted or lowered depending on the direction of the water flow. The clear vinyl tubing is not considered good practice because apparently it is a good place for algae to grow. I took some strawberry creepers and some plants from the garden, ensuring that I washed any extra soil from the roots and placed them in the troughs. The system has a number of leaks at various points and other shortcomings that I will have to look into.
The system that I have created offers much scope to study the development of strawberry plants based on the nutrient system, the nutrient supply times, and the materials used to provide their growing environment. It also provides a much more ordered arrangement than the wild strawberry patch growing in my garden, which is subject to a number of pests and variable conditions. In the future, I hope to record whether this process is successful and to improve the system to overcome any limitations that may be present in the current system.